Hey everyone! Welcome back to the Hidden History and Biblical Mystery channel. In this preview, I'm giving you a glimpse into one of my exclusive members-only videos where I explore the controversial theory about America's engineered white population. You'll hear about the incubator baby exhibits at Coney Island, orphan trains, and evidence from historical documents that suggests something much deeper was happening. This is just a taste of the in-depth content available to channel members.
The numbers simply don't work unless these babies weren't all abandoned, unless many of them were being produced specifically for the system. Need more evidence? Let's look at what one of America's founding fathers wrote about population in America. In 1751, Benjamin Franklin published observations concerning the increase of mankind, where he noted the number of purely white people in the world is proportionally very small. All Africa is black or tawny, Asia chiefly tawny, America, exclusive of newcomers, wholly so. Franklin's observations suggest that America was largely populated by non-white people before European colonization. He even described certain European groups like the Palatine Boers as tawny. This indicates a more complex understanding of race and ethnicity in the 18th century. Franklin continues, why should the Palatine Boers be suffered to swarm into our settlements and by herding together establish their language and manners to the exclusion of ours? Why should Pennsylvania, founded by the English, become a colony of aliens who will shortly be so numerous as to Germanize us instead of our Anglifying them? Franklin was concerned with maintaining a certain cultural and racial composition. He goes on to say, why increase the sons of Africa by planting them in America, where we have so fair an opportunity, by excluding all blacks and tawnies of increasing the lovely white? His words reflect an obsession with increasing the white population. They'll think these were just charitable exhibits to save premature babies. Now, I don't want you thinking this is just my theory. The descendants of these manufactured humans sometimes let the truth slip. Listen to this clip of comedian Jerry Seinfeld, yes, that Jerry Seinfeld, casually admitting something shocking.
Early 1900s, my dad was an incubator baby in Coney Island. He was on display. They had just invented the incubator. He was.
You could literally tell me anything, I'd believe.
No, it's true.
Yeah. Totally.
Did you catch that? Jerry Seinfeld, one of the most famous white comedians in America, just casually admitted his father was an incubator baby who was on display at Coney Island. And look at the interviewer's reaction. You could tell me anything, I'd believe you, because it sounds so outlandish. But Seinfeld insists, no, it's true. Of course it's true. But what Seinfeld probably doesn't realize is the full implication of what he's admitting. His father wasn't just exhibited, he was likely produced in that incubator system. His words reflect an obsession with increasing the white population. This mindset continued through American history. By the late 1800s, the white elite faced a demographic challenge. Despite their efforts, the original inhabitants of this land, the indigenous peoples, were still present in significant numbers. European immigration and natural birth rates weren't enough to change the demographics. So what did they do? They engineered a solution mass-produce white babies and strategically distribute them across the country. That's where the orphan trains come in. Between 1854 and 1929, the exact same period when the incubator shows were running, an estimated 250,000 children were shipped on trains from eastern cities to the Midwest and West. The Children's Aid Society and the New York Foundling Hospital would load these children onto trains and send them to predetermined stops where they would be lined up on platforms or in town halls. Local residents would come to inspect us, selecting the ones they wanted. Most of these children ended up as unpaid farm laborers or domestic servants. Many were abused, overworked, and exploited. Look at how newspapers advertised these arrivals. A February 1910 flyer from Missouri announced homes wanted for children, with details about when and where the train would arrive, treating these children like commodities to be distributed. When the trains arrived, local papers would document the event, often listing the names of children and the families who took them like merchandise in a shipping manifest. Newspaper accounts from the time describe how children were paraded from train depots to local venues where they were put on stage, inspected and selected based on their perceived utility for farm work. These weren't adoption events. These were human distribution operations designed to populate the West with white bodies. And let me tell you something about the people running these operations. The Children's Aid Society was founded by Charles Loring Brace, a white supremacist who wrote that the dangerous classes in American cities, which he defined as primarily non-white, needed to be dispersed before they destroyed civilization. The New York Foundling Hospital was run by the Sisters of Charity, a Catholic order with deep ties to European aristocracy and banking interests. These weren't charitable operations. They were population engineering projects backed by the most powerful interests in America and Europe. Let me ask you something. Where did all these babies come from at a time when premature birth was relatively rare and usually fatal? How did Cooney maintain an exhibit with 15 to 30 babies at all times for decades? Think about it. The numbers don't add up. A 1939 New York Times article estimated Cooney had treated around 8,000 premature babies over his career. 8,000s. That's not medical practice. That's a production line. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Records show that Cooney never actually completed medical school. His claimed credentials from German universities couldn't be verified. The man running this massive baby operation for decades was essentially a carnival barker with a fake medical degree. Still think these were just charitable exhibits to save premature babies? Now, I don't want you thinking this is just my theory. Y'all wonder why we're so spiritually different. Why we have rhythm, why we have soul, why we have that natural connection to the Creator that they have to struggle to find. We were made in the image of God. They were made in laboratories to replace us. These incubator exhibits were just the public face of a much larger operation. Behind the scenes was a vast network of baby farms lying in hospitals and foundling homes churning out infants like factories. The New York Foundling Hospital, founded in 1869, processed over 27,000 children by 1902. The Infants Home on Randall's Island in New York handled over 2,000 babies annually in the 1870s. The Catholic Foundling Hospital in Chicago, the Philadelphia Children's Hospital all across America. These institutions were processing tens of thousands of infants every year. Where were all these babies coming from? The official narrative tells us they were abandoned by poor immigrant mothers or fallen women. But let's look at the basic mathematics. The total U.S. population in 1900 was about 76 million. The birth rate was around 30 per 1,000 people, giving us approximately 2.28 million births per year. Even if we assume a high abandonment rate of 5%, which is generous, that would give us 114,000 abandoned babies nationwide per year. But the records from New York City alone show over 30,000 children flowing through orphanages and foundling homes annually. Are we supposed to believe that nearly a third of all abandoned babies in the entire United States were concentrated in just New York City, when New York only had about 5% of the national population? The numbers simply don't work unless these babies weren't all abandoned, unless many of them were being produced specifically for the system.
If you found this preview intriguing and want to see the full video with all my research, evidence, and conclusions, be sure to hit that join button below to become a channel member. Members get exclusive access to my most eye-opening and controversial content that I can't share in the public section. You'll also get access to member-only live streams, Q&A sessions, and early access to upcoming videos. Join our truth-seeking community today. The knowledge you've been searching for is just one click away. Until next time, stay woke.